Really don't mind if you sit this one out. My words but a whisper, your deafness a shout. I may make you feel, but I can't make you think. Your sperm's in the gutter, your love's in the sink. So you ride yourselves over the fields and you make all your animal deals, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick.
The Society for Literary Advancement and Gestation, SLAG, announced their decision late last night to disqualify 8-year-old prize winner Gerald Little Milton Bostock following the hundreds of protests and threats received after the reading of his epic poem Thick as a Brick on BBC television last Monday night.
And the sandcastle virtues are all swept away in the tidal destruction, the moral melee. The elastic retreat rings the close of play as the last wave uncovers the newfangled way. But your new shoes are worn at the heels, and your suntan does rapidly peel, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick.
Angela speaking.
Yeah, good eye, mate. I'm ringing up about the gymnastic club for sound men.
Oh, yes. You sound very sound.
Mate, can you book me in for tomorrow lunchtime?
Oh, certainly.
Do I have to bring my own circus clown outfit, or do you have some there already?
Oh, we have some plastic ones. I'm sure they'll be to your size. We just have to rinse them out.
Okay, I'll be there tomorrow.
Thank you.
And the love that I feel is so far away. I'm a bad dream that I just had today, and you shake your head and say it's a shame. Spin me back down the years and the days of my youth. Draw the lace and black curtains and shut out the whole truth. Spin me down the long ages, let them sing the song. See there, a son is born, and we pronounce him fit to fight. There are black heads on his shoulders, and he pees himself in the night. We'll make a man of him, put him to a trade, teach him to play Monopoly and how to sing in the rain. The poet and the painter casting shadows on the water as the sun plays on the infantry returning from the sea. The doer and the thinker, no allowance for the other, as the failing light illuminates the mercenary's creed. The home fire burning, the kettle almost boiling, but the master of the house is far away. The horses stamping, their warm breath clouding in the sharp and frosty morning of the day. And the poet lifts his pen while the soldier sheathes his sword. and the youngest of the family is moving with authority. Building castles by the sea, he dares the tardy tide to wash them all aside. The cattle quietly grazing at the grass down by the river where the swelling mountain water moves onward to the sea. The builder of the castle renews the age-old purpose and contemplates the milking girl whose offer is his need. The young men of the household have all gone into service and are not to be expected for a year. The innocent young master, thoughts moving ever faster, has formed the plan to change the man he seems. And the poet sheathes his pen while the soldier lifts his sword. And the oldest of the family is moving with authority. Coming from across the sea, he challenges the son who puts him to the run. What do you do when the old man's gone? Do you want to be him and your real self sings the song? Do you want to free him? No one to help you get up steam and the whirlpool turns you way off beam. Later. I've come down from the upper class to mend your rotten ways. My father was a man of power whom everyone obeyed. So come, all you criminals, I've got to put you straight, just like I did with my old man 20 years too late. Your bread and water's going cold, your hair is short and neat. I'll judge you all and make damn sure that no one judges me. You curl your toes in fun as you smile at everyone. You meet the stares. You're unaware that your things aren't done. And you laugh most ruthlessly as you tell us what not to be. But how are we supposed to see where we should run? I see you shuffle in the courtroom with your rings upon your fingers and your downy little sideys and your silver buckle shoes. Playing at the hard case, you follow the example of the comic paper idol who lets you bend the rules.
Now the BBC would like to present the Wednesday night radio play Do Not See Me Rabbit by Squadron Leader Alan Digby Smythe.
It all seems so long ago now, over 30 years in fact, but even small details can be remembered so vividly by the gallant young men who lived through those terrible times. This story tells of some of those young men who helped change the course of history, and inevitably of the young girls who did their small part in helping those boys in their times of stress and extreme pressure. The hot, fateful summer of 1940 was drawing steadily towards autumn, and the air was filled with the smells and sounds of a late August evening in a large Kentish garden. The heavy perfume of honeysuckle mixed with the sharper aroma of newly mown grass, the hooting of a solitary owl, contrasted with the sound of some small furry creature scuttling through the bushes, and from far overhead came the distant droning of aero engines as a grim reminder of the war which, at the moment, seemed so far away. In the centre of the garden stood a young couple, clinging tightly together and listening to the monotonous humming of the insects in the heavy Kentish air. Group Captain Rodney Nigel Fosdyke Smith, Johnny, to his friends, whispered into the ear of his lover, young debutante Rosemary Parkinson. "Oh, Rosie, I think you're a spiffing bit of stuff." Rosemary smiled coyly, and her mind flashed back to the first time she had seen Rodney, which seemed so long ago, yet was only that very afternoon. She had seen a group of slim young men walking along Regent Street. They were so obviously RAF pilots, with their newly acquired wings gleaming on the breast pockets of their smart and well-cut uniforms. They were not even men yet, just boys really with their downy little sideys and embryo handlebar moustaches. Their lithe bodies had been hardened by years spent playing on Eton fields, and their young minds honed by a few terms at Cambridge. The shame of it was that so many of them would not get the chance to return to finish their studies. and some would not even have time to grow proper mustaches. But this was 1940. Rosemary's heart had fallen for Nigel, who walked with the swagger of a boy doing a man's job and who used such expressions as "Whizzo, good show, bang on an old chap, ha 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 ha." "Rosie, my darling," murmured Rodney, "you know that the Hun are sending over a big show tomorrow, and we are going to meet them over Calais in our trusty Spitfire." "Oh, Johnny, my darling, I love you," breathed Rosemary. "No, my love, you must not fall in love with me, because someday, maybe tomorrow, I won't be coming back." Rosemary felt an icy cold finger touch her heart and said with a trembling voice, "Then we had better use what little time we have together." "Oh, my love," murmured Nigel with as much emotion as he dare show. Gammy, in the scorching heat of the late afternoon, the station was deserted with the exception of the station commander, Wing Commander Ellison, who was sitting in a deck chair on the grass at the edge of the runway, nursing his gammy leg and gazing intently in the direction of the distant gunfire. Pausing only to pat his faithful Labrador, Marley, and to relight his pipe while his loyal adjutant, a cheery cockney called Hoskins, leaned across the wing coat to apply a new layer of starch to his stiff upper lip. "My God, Hoskins, if only I could be up there with my boys. If only I didn't have this gammy leg of mine. If only I didn't have to use this walking stick," said the wing commander, who was known as the Old Man to his pilots, although of course none of them would dream of calling him that to his face. Now, sir, don't you go upsetting yourself. You know young Hodgkinson can take care of himself." Hoskins was thinking of the terrible irony of it all, that the wing commander's wound, which kept him from joining his boys in the air in the desperate struggle against the Germans, was in fact sustained during the First World War 25 years before. He had been wounded, reputedly, in a dogfight between Sopwith Camel and the German air raid Baron von Schittenhausen over the Western Front. How ironical that a wound caused by the enemy in one war should keep him out of the fight against the same enemy in another war. But Hoskins always did his utmost to keep the wing co's mind off the subject. In fact, the wing commander's wound had been sustained during the First War. It was a result of falling down the steps of the Naffy canteen of his training camp late one night while drunk as a lord. This was a terrible secret which he dreaded anyone finding out. As it was, he was thankful that it kept him from flying in those nasty, dangerous aeroplanes with everyone shooting bullets at him all the time. Instead, he could sit in the relative safety of the airfield and still get his picture in the paper from time to time as the figurehead of one of those most successful squadrons in the RAF. And so the gallant wing commander continued to sit in his deck chair on the grass airfield in the afternoon sun, automatically patting his dog, twirling his mustache, puffing on his pipe, and gazing intently in the direction of the fighting, exerting his utmost effort in the task of striking a good pose for the front pages of the daily newspapers. Meanwhile, in a lonely lookout station on the wild northeastern coast of England, two men are engaged in the vital and unenviable task of keeping watch over Britain's coastline. They are Bill Knight, age 46, and Sidney Slade, 54, both members of the Home Guard and both of Billington-on-Sea in northeast England. Bill was watching the distant horizon through his binoculars when he spotted a large irregular shape on the horizon. "Here, Sid, what do you make of that?" "I don't know, Bill. It's a large, irregular but sharply edged shape on the horizon, all right. But the radar shows that there are no enemy air squadrons over there, and it don't look like no enemy invasion force, nor any other such object of that description to me." "You know, Sid, that object is in the direction of the island of Namel," said Bill. "Aye, Bill, but it can't be. Namel is over 50 miles out in the North Sea. You can't see that far." "I know, Sid, but as any keen meteorologist experts know, freak weather conditions sometimes give rise to certain atmospheric effects where the layers of air, or strata as we call them, cause a certain amount of refraction of the light, resulting in a false image of the horizon or mirage. This enables one to see objects which are normally way beyond the scope of vision. Thus we can actually see the island of Namel, although it is 50 miles away." "Ah, Bill, I see," said Sid. "What you be trying to say is that we are in for some freak weather, so I'd better telephone the Weather Bureau and tell them about it." It was this seemingly innocent and routine report from two vigilant members of the lowly Home Guard, which, although nobody knew it yet, or even suspected it, was to have a drastic effect upon the events of the next few days, and would ultimately be the cause of the turning of the tide of the war in England's favour. Meanwhile, we will rejoin our youthful heroes, the members of the group Captain Fosdyke Smith's squadron, who were flying their Spitfires over the English Channel on their way to battle. One cannot think of these boys without feeling a sense of pride and gratitude to the few pilots in their tiny fighters flying bravely out to meet the vast hordes of the Luftwaffe, the gallant few audaciously thumbing their noses at such overwhelming odds. The cockpit of a fighter on its way to battle is a peaceful, lonely place, and some of the pilots use the time to speculate on their chances of coming back alive. The novices of the squadron, for whom this was their first taste of battle, were repeatedly checking their instruments, recalling the briefing before takeoff, and watching the sky with eager anticipation for the first sign of the enemy. Many of the more experienced flyers were softly humming strains of their favourite melodies, such as Melancholy Baby to themselves. Rodney's thoughts were naturally reflecting on his newfound love for Rosemary. It seemed strange how the sound of her voice had changed the clashing noise and rumble of the London traffic into sweet music, and how her very presence had made the dull brown and grey of foggy wartime London seem pastel shades to his eyes. He knew in an instant that he was truly in love with her, and that his prime objective in life was to return after this mission to tell her so and to marry her. He knew that no harm would befall him, and that not even the might of the German Air Force would prevent him getting back to the girl he loved. He glanced at young Flight Sergeant Frank Brown, who was flying next to him in formation, and felt a deep pity for him. Frank was painfully shy with girls, and although his main ambition in life was to become physically intimate with a girl, he was always overcome by embarrassment in the presence of a lady, and he had never been intimate with a girl in his life. However, he was to achieve his ambition in a few weeks' time when he bailed out of his blazing Spitfire, only to find his parachute wouldn't open, and he fell 12,000 feet smack on the top of an unsuspecting French farm girl, landing on her at about 130 miles an hour. Rodney gazed down from his cockpit, and there he saw, a few thousand feet below, the sinister shapes of the German Luftwaffe aircraft on their way to attack England. This is where the story really starts. Immediately the radio silence was broken and the airways became filled with such blood-stirring yells as "Tally-ho! Bang on! Roger! Sock it to 'em! Right on! Achtung!" and many more favourites including "There are the Bosch! There are the Englander pigs!" and so on. The British planes swooped down on the Germans like cats amongst canaries, and the next few minutes were chaotic. The air was filled with the roar of highly tuned engines and the staccato shutter of machine guns and cannon. Many aircraft went down in flames, both British and German. Rodney picked a Junkers bomber and dived down on it, his guns blazing. "Take that, you Huns," he screamed, and he must be forgiven his racial hatred, as this was war, and it was his job to kill. So he had to take the enemy to kill in a state of excitement for what human could gun down another in cold blood. The Junkers banked away sharply, its port engine gushing smoke, and then suddenly exploded in a ball of flame as Rodney fired another salvo into its fuel tanks. All at once the sky was clear, and Rodney relaxed a little when he heard Flight Sergeant Brown shouting over the intercom, "Look out, Rodney, on your tail!" A certain sixth sense, call it instinct if you will, made Rodney glance at his rearview mirror, and there he saw the ominous sight of the yellow nose spinner of an ME-109 fighter close on his tail. He saw the flashes as its gun fired and felt his Spitfire shadows, cannon shells ripped into it. The controls became dead and useless in his hands, and he stared incredulously at the black slick of oil streaming out of his engine and along the cowling. Already it was splashing at his windshield. "Bail out, Rodney, get out, you're on fire," yelled Brown. Yes, it's time to leave, thought Rodney. Even in this time of stress, he kept his cool down. Rodney unfastened his safety harness and stood on the bucket seat, turning around to unfasten the canopy. Already the Spitfire was losing height rapidly and beginning to catch fire. Rodney struggled with the bolts of the canopy and realised that it had been damaged by the bullets of the German fighter. "I must get out of here, the old Spits are gone," he thought as he struggled desperately with the canopy. Brown could see Rodney in difficulty and stared in shocked relief as the Spitfire dived lower and lower, with Rodney still trapped inside.
Please tune in to the BBC next week to hear the thrilling conclusion to Do Not See Me, Rabbit.
So, come on, ye childhood heroes, won't you rise up from the pages of your comic books, your super cooks, and show us all the way? Well, make your will and testament, won't you? Join your local government. We'll have Superman for president, let Robin save the day. You put your bet on number one, and it comes up every time. The other kids have all backed down and they put you first in line. And so you finally ask yourself just how big you are, and you take your place in a wiser world of bigger motor cars, and you wonder who to call on. So, where the hell was Biggles when you needed him last Saturday? And where were all the sportsmen who always pulled you through? They're all resting down in Cornwall, writing up their memoirs for a paperback edition of the Boy Scout Manual. Later. See there? A man is born, and we pronounce him fit for peace. There's a load lifted from his shoulders with the discovery of his disease. We'll take the child from him, put it to the test, teach it to be a wise man, how to fool the rest. will be geared to the average rather than the exceptional. God is an overwhelming responsibility. We walked through the maternity ward and saw 218 babies wearing nylons. Cats are on the upgrade. Upgrave, hipgrave. Oh, Mac. In the clear white circles of morning wonder, I take my place with the Lord of the Hills, and the blue-eyed soldiers stand slightly discoloured in the neat little rows, sporting canvas frills. With their jock straps pinching, they slouch to attention while queuing for sarnies at the office canteen, saying, "How's your granny?" and "Good old Ernie, he coughed up a tenner on a premium bond win." The legends, worded in the ancient tribal hymn, lie cradled in the seagull's call, and all the promises they made are ground beneath the sadist's fall. The poet and the wise man stand behind the gun and signal for the crack of dawn, like the sun. Do you believe in the day? Do you believe in the day? The dawn creation of kings has begun. Soft Venus, lonely maiden, brings the ageless one. Do you believe in the day? The fading hero has returned to the night, and fully pregnant with the day, wise men endorse the poet's sight. Do you believe in the day? Do you believe in the day? Let me tell you the tales of your life, of your love and the cut of the knife, the tireless oppression, the wisdom instilled, the desire to kill or be killed. Let me sing of the losers who lie in the street as the last bus goes by. The pavements are empty, the gutters run red, while the fool toasts his God in the sky. So come all ye young men who are building castles, kindly state the time of the year and join your voices in a hellish chorus. Mark the precise nature of your fear. Let me help you to pick up your dead as the sins of the fathers are fed with the blood of the fools and the thoughts of the wise, and from the pan under your bed. Let me make you a present of song as the wise man breaks wind and is gone, while the fool with the hourglass is cooking his goose and the nursery rhyme winds along. So, come all ye young men who are building castles, kindly state the time of the year and join your voices in a hellish chorus. Mark the precise nature of your fear. See, the summer lightning casts its bolts upon you, and the hour of judgment draweth near. Would you be the fool stood in his suit of armour, or the wiser man who rushes clear? So, come on ye childhood heroes, won't you rise up from the pages of your comic books, your super crooks, and show us all the way? Well, make your will and testament, won't you? Join your local government. We'll have Superman for president, let Robin save the day. So where the hell was Biggles when you needed him last Saturday? And where were all the sportsmen who always pulled you through? They're all resting down in Cornwall, writing up their memoirs for a paperback edition of the Boy Scout Manual. Of course. So you ride yourselves over the fields, and you make all your animal deals, and your wise men don't know how it feels to be thick as a brick.